Welcome back. We are diving straight into the absolute bedrock of South Africa's democracy today. We're unpacking Chapter 2 of the 1996 Constitution. You can kind of think of this document as the ultimate user manual for your civil liberties. By the time we wrap up this explainer, you'll see exactly how it functions as a literal protective shield in your everyday life. So, here's our roadmap. We'll cover the Supreme Protective Shield, who is actually protected, the three big buckets of rights, and finally, the catch. Because yes, rights absolutely have limits. All right, let's jump right into part 1, the Supreme Protective Shield. To really grasp the power of these rights, we have to understand what exactly they're protecting us from. Historically, South Africa underwent this massive, dramatic shift. The country moved away from apartheid, which was a brutal regime of absolute state power where human rights were systematically stripped away, and in its place, embraced constitutional supremacy. The legal framework itself essentially became a suit of personal armor, custom designed to ensure that kind of state abuse could never happen again.
Let's quickly define what that term actually means. Constitutional supremacy is the legal principle where the Constitution is the absolute highest law in the land. Period. It binds all state power. The crucial takeaway here, no politician, no police officer, no government department, not even Parliament itself sits higher than this document. Even the president has to bow to this text.
Moving right along to part 2, who is actually protected? What's so fascinating here is the sheer scope of this protection. Obviously, it covers citizens, but it also applies to permanent residents, foreign tourists, and even corporate entities, like your local companies. That means, even if you're just visiting on a 2-week holiday or running a business, this bedrock law is protecting you from the exact second you step inside South Africa's borders. Now, you might be thinking, these heavy constitutional rules only apply to the government, right? Well, let's consider a practical, everyday scenario. Could your landlord, who is just a regular private citizen, violate your constitutional human rights? Think about how that might actually play out in real life. The answer is a resounding yes. The Constitution applies horizontally. It actively prevents private citizens and businesses from unlawfully discriminating against you. So this legal shield works between you and your neighbor, your landlord, or the owner of a private shop. It doesn't just protect you vertically from the heavy hand of the state, it's a shield you carry with you everywhere you go. Okay, let's get into part 3, the 3 buckets of rights. Let's dive into the actual powers this shield grants you by sorting them into 3 distinct categories. Our first bucket holds civil and political rights, your basic foundational protections. This includes your fundamental freedoms to participate in society safely. We're talking the right to life, human dignity, equality before the law, and freedom and security of the person, which strictly guarantees you cannot be detained without trial or subjected to violence. And this brilliantly illustrates how a written right practically shapes a whole nation. Because the rights to life and dignity are absolute core values in the text, South Africa does not have the death penalty. Protecting life legally bans state-sanctioned executions entirely. The words on the page are literally saving lives. Plus, the Equality Clause acts as this massive protective umbrella. The sheer breadth of it is honestly amazing. You cannot be treated unfairly based on race, gender, sex, pregnancy, marital status, sexual orientation, age, disability, religion, and the list goes on. It lays down an incredible baseline of fair treatment that truly recognizes the deep diversity of the people it protects. Moving over to our second bucket, we have socioeconomic rights. You can think of these as the redress protections. This uniquely forces the government to actively work toward healing past inequalities by providing tangible, everyday necessities. But the specific legal wording here is absolutely key. The state must take reasonable measures within available resources to progressively realize this access. And that exact wording creates a super vital distinction. Things like housing, healthcare, food, water, and social security, those depend on available resources and happen progressively over time. They're basically goals the state works toward. But on the flip side, the right to a basic education must be provided by the state immediately. There's no available resources delay for that. It is a right you are owed right now. Then we have our third bucket, which covers procedural and legal rights, the justice protections. This ensures absolute fairness in the system. For instance, Section 33 guarantees just administrative action. What that means is any negative government decision against you, say denying a business permit, has to be lawful, reasonable, procedurally fair, and come complete with written reasons. And if you're ever actually accused of a crime, Section 35 throws an immediate protective barrier right around you. You have the fundamental right to remain silent, and you must be informed exactly why you're being arrested. From there, you can't just vanish into the system. You have to be brought before a court within 48 hours, and you're fully entitled to a state-funded lawyer if you need one. No secret detentions, no hidden charges. All right, that brings us to part 4, the catch. Because yes, rights do have limits. So we've got this incredible magic shield, but here's the ultimate plot twist about how it actually works out in the real world. A really common misconception is that these rights let you do whatever you want without any consequences, but the reality, they have strict boundaries. No right is absolute. Your rights stop the exact moment they unlawfully infringe on someone else's rights or harm the broader public interest. Your freedom of expression, for instance, definitely does not give you a free pass to spread hate speech. So what actually happens when rights clash or when public safety is on the line? Say the state wants to restrict your movements during a national disaster. Well, they must successfully pass a really specific legal test found in Section 36, which is known as the limitation clause. They basically have to prove that limiting your right is reasonable and justifiable in an open and democratic society. You can think of this as a strict legal funnel where a court calculates the government's actions. First, they assess the true nature of the right being limited. Then, they weigh that against the importance of the government's purpose. And crucially, the government has to prove there was absolutely no less restrictive means to achieve their goal. A court strictly calculates if safety could have been achieved without stripping away your rights. If it could have been avoided, the limitation is deemed unlawful. Ultimately, balancing this shield is a constant democratic tightrope walk, which brings us to a final, pretty provocative thought. If your rights end where another person's begin, who really holds the power? It definitely leaves us wondering exactly how power is maintained and negotiated every single day, especially when every citizen is armed with these robust protections. Think about that as you navigate your world today. Thanks for joining me on this explainer, and I'll catch you next time.